Guess who? Dad went out to get some milk and got a little lost. But he's found his way back home. How you doing? How's it going? How have you been? As for me, I'm just fine. I took a little time off. I came back from my work trip and I was planning to come right back into everything, but that didn't quite happen. The little time away was good, but there are things that need to be talked about, and we're gonna jump right in it today. Just wanted to say though, for anyone who has stuck around after like 4 or 5 weeks of silence, hey, thanks. That's really cool of you. I appreciate that. That said, I'm not gonna waste anyone's time any longer. Let's talk about the Hexerai. A few short months back, I released a couple of videos. One was titled Enefa, Luna Charged, and Nod Cry's Reactions, and the other was titled The Trend of Gacha Characters as Predetermined Teams. Or, as titled in the thumbnails, Are Secondary Reactions Good or Bad? And Characters as Components. Although these were two distinct topics, they did share an overarching theme. One was about character categorization as a means to unlocking new potential, and the other was about characters being pre-categorized to unlock new potential. But in both forms, we're talking about some kind of categorization, whether it's mechanical categorization or character categorization in order to lock new potential. Again, technically two different subjects which both deserve their own discussions, but the overall arching theme is the exclusivity of potential. As for why that even matters, well, the answer is simple. In such a game where having a certain character can be the make or break for completing certain content, well, exclusivity becomes that make or break wildcard. Well, both of these discussions are coming back into focus now, because with the new Hexarai mechanic that's right around the corner, we are now moving into the territory of both component characters and exclusive mechanics. Not really exclusive reactions so much, but just exclusive mechanics in general. Yeah, this is kind of a continuation of that discussion, but let's take a step back, as we always do, and ask ourselves a question. Is it really quite the same thing? What's different about this? Is this acceptable? When it came to the discussion of exclusive mechanics, like exclusive reactions, but in general just exclusive mechanics, I landed on the spot that they're okay as long as they don't overshadow the regular mechanics in the game. At the point they serve as replacements rather than just optional upgrades, then yeah, you're looking at a bad situation. And on the character component side, I landed on the idea that they kill team building creativity, and as well, it's used as a tactic to make you want certain characters or feel like you need them when you otherwise may not have any interest in them. But you like this character, so you have to get that character. So let's look at the Hexerai mechanics and determine a couple of things here. Are they considered to be exclusive mechanics? I think the answer is obvious. That's a resounding yes. You need Hexerai characters in the party in order to get their new upgrades. So, by definition, yes, it's exclusive. Is there a component character aspect to this thing? That's also a resounding yes. The characters have to be in the same party with one another in order to unlock these effects. Is it an issue though? No. My answer is no. Here's the thing. Despite being an example of exclusive mechanics, and despite being an example of component characters, I feel like it's okay in this instance, and I want to break down here what's different here compared to the other instances I talked about in those videos. For one, and this is probably the biggest point, yes, the Hexerai mechanics are a cast exclusive thing, similar to the lunar mechanics of Nod Cry. However, where the difference lies is, The Hexerai buffs are retrofitted mechanics for a cast of already widely available characters, as opposed to the exclusive lunar reaction mechanics of current and future limited releases. This is a major difference in approach. You see, the issue I outlined with the lunar reactions is the potential for lockout exploitation. What do I mean by lockout exploitation? Back in my video about Enefa and Lunar Charged, what I posited was that lunar reactions, and by extension other exclusive mechanics, are fine as long as they are treated as a luxury bar and not the base bar. The original reactions must be the comfortable base at which players can clear content, and lunar reactions should provide that much more cushion. But you should still be able to get by comfortably enough with regular reactions. What shouldn't be the case is lunar reactions as the base bar to clear, while regular reactions provide little to no chance of doing so. This is what I mean by a potential for lockout and thus exploitation. In the scenario where lunar is the base and regular is not viable, missing certain lunar-based characters can lock you out of completion, or at the very least, perfect marks. And that was my basis for concern about the then upcoming lunar reactions. And it seems I was right to have that concern. We're always teetering on the edge of lunar reactions being the true base of what you need, rather than just a cushion. Maybe you can use regular reactions, but just saying, as someone who uses a lot of lunar, I find myself barely passing some tests, which leads me to certain personal conclusions about regular reactions in the same use cases. All that said, what does that have to do with the Hexerai? Isn't it also susceptible to the exact same thing? No, see, not really. That's where I'm going with this. The difference is, what led the lunar reactions to being exploitable is the fact that none of the characters were out yet. It's something we had to look forward to, and each character release is a potential for lockout. This is not the same situation with the Hexerai mechanics at all, because the Hexerai mechanics are being retrofitted, and again, they are being applied to a cast of already widely available characters. Not even just limited characters, a lot of them are 4 stars, freely given 4 stars at that. Everyone has official, everyone has a Sucrose. Venti was the first available Archon in the game. Not even just that, really, he was the first available character in the game. This dude was Banner 1 in 1.0. Like, yeah, he's been here a while, so I mean, people have had plenty of chances to get them, and it also doesn't say anything for characters like Razor and Mona, who players have probably just picked up by virtue of playing the game. As limited characters, I would say that Klee and Albedo are the 2 on the list that most players are most likely to maybe not have, but even then, there are people that do have them. And of course, Durin is coming out, who is also a part of the lineup, but is in no way necessary in order to unlock the Hexerai mechanics. You just need any 2 Hexerai characters. He can be one of them if that's what you want, if you have him, but he's not necessary, and that's the difference. When you look at, say, Lunar Charge, you have to have Enefa in the party. She is the one single enabler of that reaction, and that makes her much more exploitable. She's also limited, so if you miss her, then you run the risk of that lockout. Now, I know what some may be thinking. The Hexerai mechanics are not really a one-to-one analogy with the lunar reactions. In fact, the Hexerai mechanics are probably more analogous to the moon signs. Fair enough, but it's really somewhere in between. It's set up like the moon sign mechanic is, but the Hexerai buffs are character mechanic specific. Similar to lunar reactions themselves, it more so changes the mechanics in the game. It changes how the game is played, unlike the moon sign mechanics, which are really just damage multipliers. So yes, while the Hexerai mechanics have a setup more similar to the moon sign mechanics, functionally speaking, I also liken them to the lunar reactions since they alter gameplay itself, rather than just increasing damage numbers. Now see why I say it's kind of a mix of both? Yeah, but unlike the moon sign mechanics or the lunar reactions, players have a much higher chance of unlocking Hexerai mechanics right out of the gate, because you have a higher chance of simply owning these characters. And that gets to the heart of it all. It doesn't feel as exploitable because we all should have some of these characters. At least a few, right? And you can even go back to the Night Soul mechanics in Natlin, where we kind of suffered the same thing. When Natlin was new to us, we needed multiple characters in order to unlock Night Soul synergy. But yeah, see, this isn't the case now. Most of these characters are characters from the past. We do have Durin, and you can probably expect Alice and Nicole to be part of it, but you will have pieces to the puzzle. You will have something you need to get this going. And just by virtue of Fischl and Sucrose, everybody can get this going. Like, from the start, realistically speaking, no one is left behind here. It's exclusive mechanics without exclusive availability. And that's cool. It doesn't quite feel as open to being exploited. But, you know, aside from all of this, I'd just say that it's kind of necessary anyway. The fact that the majority of the starter Hexerai characters are older characters is a virtue in and of itself because, yes, the availability is high, but as well, the fact that they are older characters is in itself the reason they need these buffs. As the game goes on and power creep becomes more apparent, yeah, the older characters aren't quite hitting as hard as what they used to, and this is a fine way to bring them back into line, to bring them into modernization, give them some new gameplay mechanics, and, you know, make them more viable. I don't think there's anything wrong with this approach. Yes, because we're approaching it from behind, retroactively. People pulled on Venti, people pulled on Albedo, on Klee, people have a Sucrose, which, to be fair, those two characters are really good. Like, people are probably still using them even though they're 4 stars, but you still see my point. Like, people have built these characters, people have them, and they probably would like to use them again. A character like Albedo, for instance, really lost some relevancy over time, especially after Chiori's release. Well, but now he can find some kind of footing again, and I mean, that's a good thing. I'm someone who's had Albedo for ages, and I didn't get around to building him, but after I got Chiori, I really set him aside. It just never happened. But, you know, now, I mean, I may have a reason to build him. This gives me some incentive. I'm looking for a reason to build my characters, and they're giving me one with this. There's a right and a wrong way to evolve your game, and I feel like this is the right way. Sure, things do get ahead, yes, power creep does happen, feature creep does happen, yeah, the game has gotten bigger and more complex, and so have the mechanics, but that doesn't mean old characters have to be left in the dust. As long as we're picking up the pieces and trying to bring them in line, such as, well, the Hexerai mechanics, then I think that we'll be in a good spot. This could be the start of something great. What if we do this with other old factions as well? I'm not too sure about what Varka's gonna be doing, but for instance, what if he gives a buff to, say, the Knights of Favonius characters? And what if some of the Leeway characters can get buffs due to their factions as well? I'm not saying every faction in the game needs a buff, I mean, especially not the new ones. We don't need anything new from Notcry, we don't need anything new from Natlin, but yeah, I'd say the characters from the first year of the game, and really, even some of the Inazuma ones at this point, they could use a little attention, and this is a nice way to do it. Put them in a faction, give them some kind of, you know, faction buff, and set them free, give them some changes. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, actually. We are getting Varka, for instance, and so I can imagine that the Knights can come back into focus eventually. Jean, Eula, Amber. I really think they could do something here similar. I'm not saying that for certain. I'm just saying it can. It can. But yeah, the Hexerei mechanics are exclusive, but they are exclusive done right. They are exclusive done safely, and they are exclusive without being too exclusive, if you know what I mean. And the cool part about it is, it does leave it open in the future. It's not saying these are the only Hexarai characters. Again, I mean, we're getting Durin right here at the start, so that just goes to show you it's not only the old characters, but I would expect the likes of Alice and Nicole to join. And who knows what they'll add to it, but it's just nice to know you'll have some plug and play from the start. And it's nice to know that it's going to characters that can use it. There's a lot of talk out there right now, again, about how the game is going down the path of exclusive factions, but I really do feel this case is different for the reasons I outlined. It's not really the same thing we've been getting. And again, I don't really defend those other times. I mean, Night Soul mechanics, for what they are, they're cool, but yeah, the exclusivity factor is a thing. Same goes for the lunar reactions, and the moon signs. They're cool and all, but I did voice my concerns on those, which I think are valid, and I think are even being validated as we play the game and we see that lunar reaction seems like they are kind of becoming the base of what's expected. But this is not that. Hexerei mechanics are not that. When something is a concern, I'll voice that. But when something's a non-concern, I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. The Hexerei mechanics are okay. And I would even go so far as to say that it is component characters in an acceptable form. Because, well, you already have so many components. Now, again, I'm generally not a fan of components because it forces you to get a character you don't want. But, like, there's 7 or 8 of them on the list that you probably have. And even if you don't, there's at least, like, 3 or 4 that you definitely do have, so yeah. This is fine. You'll be fine. And as far as future Hexarai characters go, see, you already have some components needed, so that's another way to look at it as well. The problem with the component setup as they've been doing it is the fact that the components themselves are always new. That's not just a Genshin thing that's been seen all over, but yeah, in Genshin, you needed Skirk and you needed a Escoffier. 2 new characters, right? Yeah, you want Enefa and you want Flint, 2 new characters, right? You see how that goes? You want Lauma and you want Nefer. It's all new characters. Here, at least if one of the new characters happens to be a Hexarai character, like, say, Alice maybe, then you'll have a component already for her, whatever it is. At least as far as unlocking the Hexarai thing goes, but say if Alice is a Hexarai character, and so is Nicole, it would really be scummy if they did something like make those 2 characters necessary for each other to function. Ugh, I don't even like the thought of that. Ooh, gross. Yeah, I'm gonna stay far away from that before I jinx it. But anyway, you see what I'm saying. If there are new characters in the future under the Hexarai, then we will have characters that can work with them already. And that's all I'm saying. It's an approach to the whole component thing where you're not chasing component characters in the future. At least you already have some sitting on your account. So that's another thing to consider. Anyway, I'm excited for this actually. I have seen some people question it because it's yet another faction kind of thing, like an exclusive faction mechanic, and people are like, again? But no, not again, because of the reasons I just laid out. It's truly different, and the fact that it's the older characters who really could use it anyway, it's not like we're taking some characters and making them broken. We're taking some old characters and kind of just bringing them in line and modernizing them. And so there's just nothing bad about that. I think we would want any game to do that, really. We've seen it done in Star Rail, for instance. They've taken some older characters and some older archetypes and really just revitalized them. And it's worked out wonderfully in that game. There's no complaints about how they've done it. Kafka's good again. You know, you get to use Silver Wolf again, you know, depending on what's going on. And Super Break is gonna come back here soon, according to some things. So, uh, yeah, and that's all while new metas still develop. That's not saying that the meta has to stagnate. It's just, you know, you don't have to leave the old ones behind either. And I'm glad to see them doing that right now. I'm glad to see them taking on that approach. Especially as we get harder and harder abysses, harder and harder theaters, Stygian onslaught exists. Yeah, it's good to see this. And I'm just interested to see what they do in the future. I'm interested to see if any other factions will get this treated. Again, not every faction needs it. Maybe up until like the second tier of the game, but yeah, I think I could see this happening with some other ones too. It's just from a lore standpoint, I can see why this is happening with the Hexerai. I mean, the Hexen Circle are coming into focus. I don't know what they would do with some of the knights, except for maybe Varka, for instance. And when you add in some of the leeway factions and stuff, and maybe an Inazuma winner, so it gets a little trickier, but I don't know, it's not on me to figure it out. That's the game developers, okay? Yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on this. There is a difference between the two. It's exclusive mechanics, but not all exclusive mechanics are questionable. There's really not much questionable here. The only thing I question is, why did it take so long to do it, you know? These guys could have used this a long time ago, but I get it. Again, as I just said, from a lore standpoint, it kind of makes sense, so we'll cut them some slack. That's all from me. It's good to be back.